to Boulders Brass. We are still here on our podcast-a-thon. If you are listening to this further into the future, it's Friday 28th of January 2022, and we are running a podcast-a-thon all day long as a fundraiser to take the podcast to the International Women's Brass Conference in Denton in Texas in May of this year. If you've been here all day, I owe you a medal. Well done. Congratulations. But I am joined by this amazing screen full of people, and they're forming our 15,000 download celebration panel. We did one of these when we hit 10k and it went down a storm, so you asked for another one, and so what I did was build a whole day around it. And so this really is the whole celebration of the whole podcast so far. So I'm very, very grateful. And so we've got a whole handful of wide-ranging questions for us to have a little go through, but we're going to come around and meet everyone first. So nobody here should be a stranger to anyone watching this, because every single person here has been a guest on the podcast, but I'm going to call it re-meeting. We're going to re-meet everybody. I'm just going to go in order of how you are on my screen, so I'm not playing favorites at all. So Ross, I'm going to let you go first because you are top left on my screen.
Oh, well, there you go. Hi, everybody. My name is Ross Knight, and I'm a tuba player, if you didn't already know that. I'm the solo tuba player of the Orchestra Suisse Romande in Geneva, Switzerland. I don't know if that's enough information for now, if you want more information or anything, but I think that's a good start.
That's fine. We know who you are. That's good. So next person on my screen is Martin.
Oh, hello. I'm Martin Lawrence, and I'm a horn player. I'm second horn in the Orchestra of the Age of Enlightenment. And so I play lots of funny old instruments and more modern ones as well. I'm also a performance anxiety coach.
Amazing. I've just come in from another historical performance panel, so you're a nice link there, Martin. Super. Ryan, you're up next. Oh, Ryan Linham. Sorry, my fault. I didn't switch my brain on. My bad.
Yeah, we've got two super Ryans here today. Hello, everyone. I'm Ryan Linham. I'm a freelance trumpet player, but I also have a position in a contemporary music group in Holland, the New European Ensemble. And I do lots of writing, composing, arranging for brass and other instruments. And I also do a fair amount of teaching, so a little bit of everything from my corner of the world.
Amazing. Bente, hi.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bente Illevold, and I'm from Norway, and I'm a freelance euphonium player and educator. And I also have a great passion for contemporary music and work a lot with that.
Amazing. Estela.
My name is Estela. My mic wasn't ready for that. I'm a trumpet player and a private teacher. I'm the owner of TrumpetRecorders.com and Music Food Academy, which are both teaching things for trumpet. Everyone did this very quickly, so I'm trying to keep up. And I'm a Dennis Wick artist. I'm a judge for the National Trumpet Competition and the International Trumpet Guild's high school and graduate division competitions, and a bunch of things like that. And today I'm wearing an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. t-shirt, so just so everybody can picture that. Important.
Amazing. Ryan McNulty, it's your go now.
Hi, I'm Ryan McNulty. I'm a trombone player, plays jazz, brass band, all that kind of good stuff in New York City. Run a group called Black Tie Brass, and where we do everything that New York City could throw at us.
Amazing. Last but not least, Jose, hi.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jose. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yep.
All right, so my name is Jose Leong. I'm a bass trombonist here in South Florida, United States, originally from Venezuela, and I play with the bass trombonist for the Symphony of Americas and teach for the Florida Atlantic University, where I am right now, getting ready just in case someone knock at the door. I just put the mask on, and it's so happy to be here and see all these familiar faces that I hope one day we can all get together and have some beer or coffee or whatever. And because I know music we will make. so for sure. So I'm thrilled to be here. What else? Recording artist and, jazz, orchestra, symphony, opera, ballet, everything. So, whatever we can do to survive in this world.
For sure, for sure. So we've had a whole bunch of different questions submitted to us, and they range from things to do with practice to things we do for fun. So I'm going to start off with the question that was put forward of the form of how do you keep yourself motivated in practice and to practice, other than, the whole we want to earn a living thing. Anyone want to jump in on that first? Ryan Linham.
I'll jump in on that one. Come on, how do we keep ourselves motivated? When I was 15 years old, I studied with a fantastic trumpet player called Tim. Tim was the trumpet player in Les Miserables in the West End in London. And it always struck me as weird that every single week Tim would come in with a new mute, a new book, a new CD, a new mouthpiece, a new trumpet, And back then I was thinking, why has he always got these new items? And he said it's always just to keep him fresh, especially when you're playing the same show 8 times a week. How do you keep it fresh for yourself when you think, well, I could play that show standing on my head with no warm-up? So for him, it was always like trying to find something new, and I do that a lot. But also for me, it's about finding stuff that I genuinely love. So I go and listen to the things I like the most, try to copy them, emulate them, play along with them. So it's for me, it's about finding the passionate reason why I play music, and then bringing that into my practice, so it's not all just long tones and scales and muscle building. So I'm actually going to enjoy myself.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, sorry. I've kept my mic on all day, and that's the only time I've turned it off. So sorry, Bente, you had your hand up next.
Yeah, I just want to follow up what Ryan says about too low to play. And for me, it's like, I think you're spending so many hours on something that we do to get to the level we want. It's about the inner drive, an inner passion, something you really need to love what you do to be able to make the commitment and practice enough to get to the level you want. But also for me, it's been very important to have some clear artistic intention and goals. Like when I get up every morning, I know what to do because I know what my goals are and what I want to achieve as a musician, as an artist, and that's very important to me.
Yeah, that's a great one. Jose.
Yeah, following what Ryan and Bente have said, is also the love for music, yes, but one of the things that I love the most is to sound good. And the only way to sound good is to keep on working and consistently improving. And when I stop practicing for 1 day or 2 or 3, in those occasions that has happened, especially throughout the pandemic, always coming back is a pain in the butt. So I don't like that pain in the butt. So I'd rather just keep on going because I love playing music. I've been doing music since I was little. I come from a musical family. All my family are musicians. Sometimes my house was called the crazy house by the neighbors because everybody was practicing at some point. It sounded like a conservatory. And flute player, bass player, guitar, trombone, singer, all of us. So I think music is basically part of life and has become equally as almost like breathing. So if I don't breathe, I can live. So if I don't play music and I don't sound good, I can live with myself either. So I really like to keep it on going and actually enjoy what we do.
That makes complete sense. Anyone else want to weigh in on that one? Oh my god, look how many hands just went up. Okay, Ross, I think you unmuted the fastest.
Yeah, there you go. For me, I'm in a very lucky position. I always know what's coming ahead, which is not everybody has that luck, but I always, to keep myself motivated, I'm always looking ahead to what's coming next, which I think is very important as well. So I manage to structure my practice and keep my motivation going towards the next project. So for example, if I know that I have a big solo in one of the orchestra works coming up, I'll be starting to motivate myself to be practicing. Maybe I need to be playing really high, maybe I need to be playing really low, so I'll be working on those things, and then I change it up. I start to think, what exercise do I need to do this, and then I just make it a game for myself. I'm thinking of different things that I can do, just to, it's like Ryan said earlier, it's like trying to find something new every single week as well. And yeah, and I love what everybody's saying there as well about loving it, because if you don't love what you do, it doesn't make it as fun. So when you find something new to do, you start to love it more, and I really think that's important as well. So sum it up, try something new, always look ahead, always try and find a new goal, etc. And I think that does help a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Estela, you had your hand up before.
Yes. Before I get into it, I do want to say a proper hi to Ryan Linham, because Ryan Linham and I have been in touch with, just for a long time. And I've bought a couple of his books, and he writes really great stuff for trumpet. So if you're listening to this, go to his website and buy stuff. And you can give me the 20 pounds for that shout out later. Fine. But thank you, Melissa, for putting us in each other's paths like this. I get to see these faces like Bente. I see her playing on social media all the time, and she's so inspiring. And Jose and like everyone here, and some new faces, which is great. But getting into the question, I think where motivation comes from just changes and morphs as you progress as a musician. When you're very young, it's not, you haven't figured out yet the addictive factor of music making. But once you actually start practicing and you start getting into this groove and you start hearing the changes, and you're like, oh, I can actually play this slur now. This is cool, and stuff like that. It becomes addictive, because I think that just feeling success is an addicting thing. It's a very positive thing, and so when you feel like you can't get enough of it, you're gonna keep doing it. You're going to keep doing it. But eventually, like absolutely everything in life that can be great, it gets old. And so as you start getting into your college years, there's a lot of I don't want to say pressure, but yeah, pressure to perform and to practice, because there's a recital and a test, and your teacher's watching you down every week. And all these different things, right? So there's that motivation. But once you get out of that and you have to actually do things for yourself, the motivation has to come from somewhere else, right? You're already over all these stages. Now, I think that the one thing that never quite stops is wanting to get better, because it doesn't matter how long you've been playing, you're always going to be wanting something to sound better. Which is one of the great things about music, right? It never stops. But for me personally, as the years have gone by, I used to perform a lot more, and now I teach like 100% of the time. And I do some recording projects and stuff like that for whatever comes up. But that's been really tough for me, because I don't have this concert date coming up like next weekend, or this thing with the symphony or whatnot, right? Like before. But I do teach a lot, and my students depend so much on me sounding good. And I have a few students that are playing things like Jolie Bay and, hard repertoire. And so I need to be able to get in there and just pick up my horn and just be like, boop, 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 and show them how it's done, right? So they can, it's not gonna sound exactly like that, right? Some days I do sound like, boop, 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 but most days I sound like an actual trumpet player. So for me, it just comes from that responsibility I feel for them to get better, because I want to see them succeed. So,
yeah, amazing. Somebody else had their hand up. Martin, was it you? There you go. I was like, it was somewhere on my screen.
Yeah, I like what Jose said about. You didn't exactly say this, but it's sort of like the connection of feeling like you're playing well. It has a connection with your own personal happiness somehow. Like if I'm out of practice, I get a bit grumpy, and so it's a bit of a sad thing to say, I guess. But it's like, if it doesn't necessarily mean I can get up in the morning and play anything I like. It's just that feeling you get when you can taste the notes somehow, and you think, yeah, this is going to be good, and that makes me so happy that I plug away. I'm actually slightly different from what some other people have said is I actually quite like the sort of quite methodical practice, or sort of doing a similar set of things each day or something like that, because I quite like the way that it builds things up or keeps things sort of in place. But even more, like it's like doing a sort of meditation or something like that. It's like if you do a meditation that's just concentrating on your breath, you say, oh, that's a bit boring, but actually it isn't. It's sort of focusing your mind, focusing your breath and everything like that. So I quite like the sort of I quite like, I don't know, boring practice. I really enjoy that. And it does, and it contributes to my happiness because it means I keep in shape. I'm on tour at the moment. This is my lovely hotel room in Dublin, and so I'm coming at the end of a sort of 3-week tour, and it's often difficult to keep up practice on tour. That we're playing in theatres where there's nowhere to play. I don't really like playing in hotel rooms much because I think I'm going to disturb the person upstairs or something like that. So I've actually been experimenting, and maybe any sort of student brass player shouldn't listen to this, but I've been experimenting with not practicing and seeing what happens. I mean, luckily the show I'm doing at the moment it's not too difficult, but actually every time I've come in, I've felt that sort of really pleasurable feeling that I know where these notes are, but it's interesting that that's happened off the back of not practicing. So maybe it's something to do with just relaxing my brain out of it, or relaxing the muscles, or something like that. I don't know. So it's an interesting thing to try sometimes.
I think I know what you mean as well about it contributes to your overall mood. I think we all invest so much of ourselves into what we do that if you have an off day, it does make you feel just a bit sorry, there's definitely a better adjective for that, but if you'd asked me at 9 o'clock this morning, I could have told you now. Is what you get. Do you know what I mean? We put so much of our personality is linked with what we do that when it does feel a bit crappy, it can really write us off. So it sort of links with what Jose said about staying on top of it, so it's not then a complete pain in the bum or like a mood killer. Okay, so many hands have gone up and mics have gone off. Right, Bente, I'm going to come to you first, and then Ryan McNulty, I know you were waiting next.
No problem.
Yeah, I just want to add in to what Ross said about bringing something new to the table, because for me, I like almost constantly have a new piece on my stand that I'm like trying to learn something new in, especially like, and for the last years I've been like premiering big commissions, maybe like up to 30 minutes of music twice a year almost, and that really forces you to challenge yourself and your practice habits, and been very motivating for me also because I try to commission music from composers that are not so familiar with brass or the euphonium, so I sort of get to learn the other instruments groups' approach to music, like how they notate stuff and like what kind of traditions they are in and thinking music wise, and that challenged me a great deal in getting out of the box of what the traditional euphonium can be used as and how you play it, and that's been very, very motivating for me. I have to say.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, man, you guys have said so many beautiful things. Estela, I never thought about it, that the addictive feeling of making music like that. Calling it addiction is really spot on the nose, because you feel bummed out if you don't sound good that day, and you want to figure out how to tweak it and do whatever you got to do. And I think that's such a great way of describing it. For me, the motivation is finding new music that I just want to play so bad, or a song on the radio, or because I'm in such a realm of playing pop tunes and playing kind of a different world, like playing bars, playing these true, like, we're in the audience facing things where people are drinking beers and they kind of don't really care about what we're doing. How can I get them to care in this moment? So you find that Taylor Swift song or whatever it is that someone says, I didn't know you could play that on brass. I didn't know that could actually sound good on brass, and I want to party. So it's that's what motivates me. Is I found a couple of ways to get people so excited to hear the trombone in times when they're celebrating someone's like 21st birthday or 30th birthday, or like these like not traditional ways of listening to music. And it's a constant driver, is getting that feeling, getting that addiction filled. It's such a good way to put it. I'm really stuck on that. That's great.
Yeah, I hope that people listening to this are taking notes in ways to do their practice differently, because you've just had Six and me different inputs on ways to change it up. So there's no excuses, practice folk. Anyway, next question then. This one, I think it's going to be interesting, because I was trying to think about what my answer would be without making me sound like a cave person. And this one is, what's the best piece of advice you've heard, but we have to try and sum it up in 3 words? So mine would be like, carve own path, which is fine, but it makes me sound like I don't know how to speak. So, Ryan McNulty, you've got your hands up first. But Ryan Linham, thanks for the chest banging. Thank you, very flattering.
I think mine was just keep playing.
Well, see, that works.
It's so silly, simple, because you don't know where your career is going. I'm sure each of us thought our career was going to go in a certain way, and especially in the past 2 years, but overall thought our career was going to go in a certain way when we went to college, or even when we were playing in high school or whatever we were doing. And someone just told me so early on, just keep playing, and it's going to kind of open up for you whether you should keep playing or whether you shouldn't, or if you should play different stuff. Just keep playing.
That's a good one. Estela, your hand went up in the middle of that one.
Yeah, mine is whatever it takes. That is my motto for life. It's on my wall back there. And especially this week, I'm really feeling that this week. So whatever it takes, and you can apply that however you want to whatever you want.
I'm glad that so far the 2 we've heard made more sense than mine, and now I sound like a Neanderthal. Who's going next? Oh my God, so many hands went up at once. Okay, Martin, I'm going to come to you.
I think mine is as simple. It's just play the music, because we can get so sort of tied up with technique, how we do it, and at a certain point you've just got to forget all that and play the music. I was inspired by that because I'm definitely not a golf player, but it's like golf is a very sort of technical game where you can get wound up in lots of things, and then the best bit of advice is hit the ball. Yeah. It doesn't mean you don't have to go through the technical stuff. Just hit the ball, and in the musical equivalent is play the music.
Yeah, nice one, Jose.
Mine is enjoy the process. There is a process to learn things. There is a certain steps that we have to take to translate the sound that we have in our head to the end of our instrument, to the bell. So that process in between these 2 points sometimes could be a little bit overwhelmed if we actually don't enjoy it. It becomes a burden. So do not see it as a burden. Just enjoy every single step, like enjoy learning how to walk, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, Bente.
I can't use 3 words, I have to use 5. Always be at your best. And that is not necessarily the meaning that you always, like, every day should be a top day, because it will not be, but it's more like, I learned this from my high school teacher, playing a solo back in high school, and I done so well at the lessons, and then he was at the first rehearsal with the band, and he said to me, "You are not good enough to not perform your best always." And but I translated that to bring it, and no matter what I do, what kind of gig I have, or like what kind of teaching I do, no matter what level, it's always important that you are as well prepared as you need, and that you do it your best, not go for like half machine, because people will notice. And if you want to like build up your career, especially as a freelancer, you need to like always be on top of things.
Yeah,
and do your best.
I know we talked about it in your episode as well. You never know who's listening. You never know who's there. You can't always see everyone when you're performing, and somebody might have snuck in that you wanted to impress. So yeah, that's a solid one.
Yeah, and it's also like a great deal of motivation in this. It makes you more like ready to go to work, no matter what level you are working on or what kind of gig.
Yeah, for sure. Who's gonna go next?
Or sometimes you find out last minute who's gonna be listening, and it's up to the preparation that you had to start getting nervous or not. so yeah, that happened to me in Georgia when I played at the ITF recently, and I was getting ready to go in, and I just finished my rehearsal with the pianist, and all of a sudden Joe Alessi was coming by, and there was nobody else. It was one of those moments that I don't know where everyone was. And he comes to me and he's like, "Hey, Jose, how you doing? So nice seeing you again." He gave me a hug. I was gonna shake his hand, but he gave me a hug instead because we have met several times before. So he's like, "So your thing is tomorrow, right? At 5? I'll be there." And I'm like, "God damn it." so yeah, and he was there. so well, I mean, it went well, thank goodness, but you know, there was a little bit extra little motivation that I don't know if I need it or not.
That's a lot of extra motivation. I might have canceled, but whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I think I'd have, given that I'm a cave person, I'd have run away and hid back in my cave if I'd heard that. But anyway, Ross, you had your hand up a minute ago.
Yeah, so I mean, everybody's got such motivational ones. This is quite quite impressive. Mine's a bit more practical. I think we actually spoke about it in the podcast, Melissa, when we were speaking. Mine comes from my teacher, and I've put it into 3 words, so I'll expand on it afterwards. But it's timing, tuning, sound, the 3 words. So he always said, you must play in time, in tune, with a good sound. They're the 3 fundamentals of everything that you do as a musician, especially when it comes down to orchestral playing. I guess in any playing, but that was what he said. If you're doing an audition, for example, you have to play in time first, then you play in tune, and you have to play with a good and appropriate sound. And I think those 3 words are, and that's after that, then you make the music. If you get the basics in place, then everything else is you. You show your personality. And I love that. It's something I've stuck by, it's something I teach with. And I absolutely love that I learned that from the very start with my teacher when I was when I went to the Royal Academy of Music.
Yeah, that's a good one. Does that mean we've got one person left? Ryan Linham, is it you?
It is me, yes. My one links with actually very much similar to what Martin was saying about make the music. Mine comes from another one of my former teachers, and it's very simply, go for it. My teacher used to say, you know, you're getting too worried about the notes. You're getting too worried, you know, you're playing too safely or too accurately, or you're not being musical because you're so worried about all the technical stuff. Hear the sound in your head and just go for it. But actually, I think go for it can apply in lots of situations. I say it to my students all the time if they're walking into the exam hall, or, you know, just go for it. Just give everything you got in the moment. And I think that's a really nice way to approach performance, certainly. So yeah, go for it.
Well, now I made fun of how hard this would be to do in 3 words and then made myself look like an idiot. You've all done very well, so congratulations. My only defense is I've been here in the internet box for 10 hours now. That's my only defense. I'm sticking by it. That's the only thing I've got. And so the next question then is, I guess it's a tricky one because nobody's really going to want to put somebody on the spot like this, but I'm interested, so I'm going to ask it anyway. And this one is, who's the most inspirational brass player to you and why? Everyone is going, Oh, Estela, go on then.
Okay, I don't have one. And that always kind of surprises people. I was just doing this other interview, and at the end they're like, "Oh, which 3 people would you love to have dinner with? Like, if it could be anyone, right?" And none of mine were trumpet players or brass players, and they're like, "Oh, not one brass player." But I will tell you who my absolute role model is. It's Walt Disney, creator of Disneyland, right, and Disney World, because he was an incredibly inspiring person. He built Disneyland in 1 year, and that's mind-blowing, right? So in my career, what I do is I build a lot. Like I'm involved in content creation consistently every single day, whether it's for my online course or for social media or for writing stuff for my students or whatnot. And I'm always feeling like I'm tackling these monumental things, these monumental projects, and I'm always feeling bogged down by how long is this gonna take, right? That's always in the back of my mind. How long is this gonna take? And then I think of, Walt, and he built Disneyland in 1 year. Like, that blows my mind. It blows my mind. He seeked talent in every single corner. And that's amazing to me because he wasn't involved with himself. His main priority was to build a park where the adults could have fun along their children. Because the idea struck him when he was at a park with his daughters and they were playing and he was sitting on a bench board and he was thinking, that would be cool to have something to do. And it's that simple, small idea, right? And those things about him inspire me so much. So he's my big role model for everything I do.
Fair enough. Somebody else had their hand up a second ago and I can't see where it was. Ross, was it you? Okay, there we go.
I think it was me, yeah. I just looked up, by the way. I think Walt Disney played the clarinet, so there you go. Yeah, sorry.
Close enough.
That's not allowed on this podcast, then.
I was about to say. No, for me, I think I have 3 or 4 role models, and they're my teachers. I'll go through them. So my very first teacher was Mike Robertson in Carnoustie in Scotland, and he got me to the stage going to music college, and I can't thank him enough for that. So he inspired me so much that way to get to there. Who I went through all the brass bands and stuff like that, and he always came up with something new for me to do, something exciting, always pushed me, etc. Moving on to when I was at music college in London, it was Patrick Harold, who some of you know. Ryan, I know you know him, and Melissa as well. Anybody else who doesn't, this guy's insanely, he's the most inspirational character I think I've ever met, just by his voice, honestly. If any of you don't know who Patrick Harold is, he speaks like this. It's incredible. That's honestly.
Such a good impression.
Yeah, I know, I practiced that. He caught me doing it once as well. So Patrick he has the ability to get gold out of everybody. Anybody who came through, he just did it. I've seen him build careers out of people who thought it was all over as well. People who maybe had problems, like they couldn't play anymore or something like that, and suddenly he found them another line, another way to go, whether it went into management, music management, or whether it becoming a conductor or something, and he always brought out the best in whatever you could do. Moving on to my next one is, sorry, I'm going to go as fast as I can. My teacher, Jens Bjørn Larsen in Hanover. God, this guy can do anything on the tuba, honestly. He's like literally tuba god for me. It's insane. So I learned so much just by listening to him, just listening to what he had to say, fixing breathing problems which I never even knew I had. Looking at my embouchure and saying, I've got the strangest embouchure, by the way. If anybody wants to ask me about it sometime, you can. But it's he just couldn't believe that I could play like that. He said, "Okay, that's great, you can do that. Now learn to play properly as well." So I've got the two ways. So he pushed me to all these limits as well. My last one is my teacher, Alexander von Puttkamer, when I was in the Karajan Academy in Berlin. Now, when I was there, I got the chance to just sit beside him and just listen. And just listen to how he played. When he's playing the B-flat tuba, F tuba, whatever, and I was just sitting there like, that's what I want to sound like. That is it. That's exactly it. So that was my inspiration, and that helped me win the job, because it's like, that's what I want to sound like, so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to sit in the practice room and just try and make that sound that he's making there right now. I remember we were on a little tour in Baden-Baden doing Shostakovich 4, so I was playing second tuba and he was playing first, obviously. And I just heard him warm up, and the first note he played, I think it was just like a middle of the stave E flat, and it was the most glorious sound. I said, I want to be able to do that. And it inspired me, and I worked my butt off to be able to even get half the sound that he can. So that was 4, but I hope that's okay.
Fair enough. We're fairly lenient with the rules here. Fairly lenient. Who would like to go next? I feel like a teacher that's like about to pick someone for being naughty. Ryan McNulty, you can go next.
Those are great answers, guys. For me, it's Fred Wesley. He's the original trombone player for James Brown. And his technical playing, his timing, like the way he thought about how to solo and do those things was awesome. But he also produced all of James Brown's movies, which, some of them were not great, but the music was awesome. And he's still playing, and he found a way to do all different things in his career, funk, straight ahead swing, jazz. And then he has this crazy ability to one take solos. So he's brought into the studio and he says, I only need like 10 minutes, and listens to the track and then blows over it. And most of the time they take that take. He does a second one just in case, and that's it. He's older now. He just played the Blue Note last week, and he sits on a stool, and you would have no clue that he has aged as far as he has, because he just still sounds phenomenal. So I'm still finding recordings of his that I'm like, I don't know how he thought of that, how to play that rhythmically, not play on the 1, play on like the E of 1. And it's so funky and so much fun to hear.
Yeah, that's a great one. Martin, you had your hand up as well. I'm going to come over there next.
I like what Ross was saying about just the sound of the last guy you mentioned, and I'm going to go with a more historical figure. I'm going to go with Dennis Brain, the horn player, and he was the one who, when I was a kid, I thought, that's the sound. That is the sound. And that's amazing. I mean, he died even before I was born, but so I never heard him live. So, but it was just the sound and the articulation. But I always think articulation and sound go together. They're sort of the same thing almost, But the sort of beginning of the note and the middle bit of the note with him is always so beautiful, so sort of round but not fat. Just sort of focused, and I don't know how to describe it, but just him for the sound.
Yeah, nice one. Who have I missed so far? Bente, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I have two people then, and they are both Norwegian actually. So the first one is the Norwegian tuba player Daniel Herskedal. I really love the way he has created, for me, like his own landscape of sound on the tuba, and his music is created, and he's an amazing tuba player and artist. And check out his music. It's really great if you don't know it. And also the Norwegian trumpet player Ole Edvard Antonsen, that for me is a true legend, and it's like, for me, it's like everything he does is perfection. So it's like he's like, especially when I do my arbans, when I work in arban, I like have him, like that's the quality it should be at. So that's always the goal, to play as clear as on euphonium as you can do on the trumpet. So I think he's amazing, and also the fact that he's also written a lot of stuff, and he can do, like, he's done dozens of classical recordings, he's done contemporary music, and he has some light albums with his own compositions as well. So
Very cool. Jose, you had your hand up a minute ago. I'll come there.
Yeah. Well, I actually have 2 people in one and a movie.
Okay.
The 2 people in one are my parents, because they actually, my dad is a musician, as I mentioned at the beginning, double bass player, And when I first started learning bass trombone, when I made the transition from tenor to bass, it was at a time that there were not many recordings out there of bass trombone. It's not like now that everybody has even I have a recording on bass trombone. Back then, nobody had a recording on bass trombone. It was basically all tenor, and it was basically all Christian Limber and some Joe Alessi, and that's it, and some of the, I don't know, three-tone quartet and things like that, Brandy Meter's Low Car, but there was really no bass trombone sound out there. And my main reference was my dad playing double bass, and that is what I very first started imitating the connection between the notes with the bow and trying to translate that to my bass trombone sound. And that was actually the key for me winning my first audition in my hometown. And my mom, because she was there in the whole process, just supporting us, and us making noise all day long, and she was okay with it when other parents were basically just telling their kids to shut up. and, and my mom was actually encouraging us to do the opposite, and all that. I haven't heard you practicing today. What's going on? Things like that. And the other inspiration was a movie, specifically Rocky 3. out of all the Rocky movies, Rocky 3 is actually the only one that I could watch over and over and over and over. And is because of the fact that two people that were enemies in the first two movies overcome the best friends in the world just by one of them trying to help the other one when the other one was on the floor, destroyed himself mentally, physically, personally, and instead of smashing him when he was down, he actually came and was the bigger man, and Apollo comes and say, "No, dude, I have to help you because you are way better than that." And that is the approach that we all should have as musicians, is helping others and just making a whole community of friends, and eliminate that stupid competition that sometimes is manifested everywhere among musicians, especially among musicians of the same instruments, and especially among musicians of the same instrument in social media. So I think that is one of the most beautiful examples of that we all should imitate or transpolate to all our lives in general.
I'll have to take your word for it. I've never seen any of the Rocky films. Don't at me. Like, I'm bad with films. Well,
watch 3. You watch 3, and the other ones are like, you kind of figure it out.
Okay, noted. I had one person left. Ryan Linham, is it you?
Yeah, I'm last again on this question because I hate answering it. Because to mention one person is to exclude everyone else who's had a huge impact on me and my choices as a musician. But what I love about listening to everyone's answers there is it just goes to show that inspiration can come from anywhere, and we should allow it to come from anywhere. So whether it's just sitting next to someone and saying, "Oh my goodness, I want to sound like that," or whether it's someone's career that they had and saying, "Wow, that's really inspiring that they managed to play so many styles or achieve so much," like Walt Disney, for example. Or it could be someone's like professional manner. You could see someone just existing in a role and think, well, I'd like to carry myself with that dignity or that integrity, or so there's so many ways that places that inspiration can come from. But I had to think deep while you were all talking about what inspires me the most. And as someone who in general is an enthusiast and an encourager, I would have to say those are the two traits that when I see them in other people really inspire me to think I'm doing I'm sort of on the right track. And people with a lot of sort of enthusiasm and energy for what they do, and people who go out of their way to give of themselves to others, I find that really inspiring. So in trumpet land, in the UK, I can think of 3 names off the top of my head very quickly. Alan Thomas, who taught me, he was an amazing guy and does phenomenal things with the trumpets in the Birmingham Conservatoire. Alistair Mackey, who taught me at the Royal College, and he just made everyone feel 10 feet tall, and he would give so much of himself in a lesson, and extra lessons as well. And excuse me. And Philippe Schatz, who's the principal trumpet in Cardiff and teaches at the Royal Welsh College, and his energy and enthusiasm, I look at him and I think, wow, if someone can have that when they're approaching, the end of their career or 25, 30 years in an orchestra, then I should be having that at the start of my career and be able to keep that going. The last thing I want to be is a very old, jaded musician, cynical about the way that we're not paid enough and we have to travel too much and it's unsociable hours. I just want to be that person who's always going, oh, look, a new shiny thing. I'm going to play that today. And be as involved in my music making as I can at the end of my career. So yeah, I guess allowing ourselves to seek inspiration wherever we go and whatever film we're watching or whatever colleague we're working with, whatever gig we're on, I think that's a really healthy way to live, and I'll always keep being inspired. I remember Ryan, actually, I listened to your podcast and I just loved the energy and the enthusiasm you had for your band, and when I listened to that I was like, yes, this is it, this is what I love, and it's all, we've never met and you're all the way across the pond, and I was like, come on, more of this. And I was very inspired by that, so thank you for an excellent interview there, Ryan. But
Oh, thanks. I'm glad you liked it. Yep. Music's fun, man.
Isn't it just?
I like all of these answers very much. The game I've been playing today is I ask you a question and then I answer it. So I'm going to answer this question just because I have an answer. For the ones that I don't answer, you'll know I just don't have an answer because I don't want to think of one. But for me, my answer is Lindsay Schilling. And for those of you who don't know, Lindsay is one of the principal trombones of the Royal Opera House, and he teaches at the Royal College. He has links with my childhood brass band. We grew up in the same town, not at the same time. Sorry, Lindsay, for outing you, but you're much older than me. And he would come back and do events with the band before I was even a trombone player, which is why I switched to play the trombone. I heard him play. He's a ridiculous trombone player. He's also such a wonderful teacher. He was willing to give me lessons. He lived in Greenwich. I studied in Greenwich. And he was willing to give me lessons in addition to my lessons at college, for extra input. Obviously I paid him, but I wasn't a student of his at his college. He could have easily said no, he was too busy. And he's one of the nicest guys in the game. Like, anyone you speak to says, yeah, Lindsay's just so nice. He's so friendly. He's so willing with his knowledge. He's had this super successful career and he's still very humble and very down to earth. And like, if people ever said things like that about me, I'd be very pleased to be described that way. I think people would use the word nut job and crazy woman about me, but that's also fine with me. So I'm very aware of the time, and so I'm going to shoehorn one last question in before we have to wrap up for this session. Can't believe how fast an hour goes. And this is one that I've borrowed from an interview I did with the International Women's Brass Conference, which brings us full circle, which is what I'm raising money for. So I've stolen the question from them, but I love it so much, and everyone's answer is always so different. So if you had infinite money and infinite time, what is a project you would love to either run or be involved in musically? Oh, Ryan Linham, you're straight out of the gate this time.
Yeah, straight in, so I'm not left last. For me, I would set up I would start by setting up a brass ensemble, and with that infinite money, I would pay them very well, all my friends, all my colleagues, and we would go to every primary school in the country and potentially further afield, because at the moment in the UK, a headmaster gets complete control over his primary school budget. They're so scared of exam results and all of that most of them decide, okay, well, we'll cut music and drama and we'll do more maths and science. Now, I have nothing against maths and science, but I totally believe that the arts and a holistic education are totally vital to one's well-being and happiness and actually life experience, communication, all those things. So I would start by doing it with a little brass group and then hopefully grow it, get a wind ensemble involved, get a string ensemble involved, and I would just be absolutely hammering every education institution that would have us, especially the ones in deprived areas, the ones that don't get any music at all, which unfortunately is far too many in my opinion currently, and just try and get the music out there again. And by attacking grassroots, that, I mean, I hate that expression, but we talk about it all the time. By attacking the grassroots, you're then starting to hopefully see a trickle up effect, and so in 20 years we might have some growing audiences again. You know, we might have some more amateur bands and enthusiasts. And that's part of, I think, a much healthier cultural tapestry, which in every country is very different. Obviously, some countries have a lot more amateurs than others. But that's how I would do it. I'd just get loads of ensembles together and I'd go in and I'd present these big fun concerts, and we'd do as many as we can. Thank you for my TED talk.
Grassroots. Don't you mean grassroots? I'll see myself out. Who's going next? Quick, before I say anything else dumb. Ross, quick.
Grassroots, well done. My one is a dream I've always had, and I've never even got past the initial thoughts of it, actually. But I always think it'd be really great to start, it's similar to what Ryan said, start a group that is completely, it's able to do it anywhere. So there's no words involved. You don't need to say a word. You get someone to write basically a play in music, and you can take it all over the world and you can educate people just without having to say a word. So it doesn't matter which language you speak, you can literally teach people and show people how to do what music is, or just tell a story, and you can change up, and if you have enough money to do it, you get people to write these shows for you, and then you can take a different show around it. I think that'd be really cool to do something like that.
That sounds very cool. Very cool. Who's gonna go next? Jose.
Yeah, I would love to fund a brass academy for low-income kids, and especially focusing on low-income and minorities, in which they can grow up learning music, attending school, but at the same time being able to receive a stipend that would allow them to focus on actually learning, and if possible becoming professional musicians, or just at least acquiring the professional skills that they might need for any other career that they will need to go. So when they reach the college age, they are at a competitive level to get a full scholarship into any college they want to go. And that way, while they're growing up, they don't have to be worried about what are they gonna eat tomorrow or what their family's income is gonna be. They just focus on their education, and we can oversee that happening. And probably, while they are teenagers, maybe we could also have a professional ensemble that will be, replaceable, in which where the ones that graduate are replaced by the new incoming, and if it's possible, tour with the group and make them having the professional experience at the youngest age possible, and being academically focused.
That's a great one. Sounds lovely. Estela.
This is infinite money, infinite resources, I'm assuming infinite connections. I would love to fund an organization that focuses on educating educators about being inclusive and accepting, because I have students right now who quit playing their instruments 1 or 2 years into college, for example, because of something their teacher told them. And so I see that so much, right? And sometimes it's not even something the teacher says, but it's what they don't say. And that is what I would love to, for it to be an actual part of the 4-year education, to become a music educator in any institution, and for it to be like required, like you have to take this course or this seminar or this right? So that every child child and college student, right? It goes all the way up the chain to our actual professional settings. That is a woman or a minority of any type, or has a sexual preference of any type, doesn't feel like they need to hide it, because that comes across in the horn. You know, that comes on the instrument when they have to stand in front of their peers, wearing whatever it is, or however many tattoos they want to have. No one should be shunned or made to feel bad because of that. And a lot of times teachers just don't know what to say or how to say it, because it's difficult to tap into that when you're not in one of those worlds yourself. So an educational approach, I think, would just change a lot of lives.
Yeah, for sure. Bente, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to say is sort of a bit mixed between Ryan and Estela, but I would like to spend the money to buy time. And I would do it with expanding the day from 24 hours to 30 hours. And then we could all spend, because this is my point, what I feel, no, not sleeping, but what I feel we are lacking in not necessarily the brass community only, but in music community in general. We are lacking meeting points. We are lacking like things like this, when we meet up from different cultures with different approaches and talk, because I feel, especially in the future, for future musicians, they need to have a career that is much more diverse than what we are probably having. And this is because the work market are changing, and all this global cooperation and stuff. Like, the world is your workspace, and yeah. So, and I think what is happening is that we are still having this, or you're a classical musician, you're a jazz musician, you're a composer, you are a conductor, you're an arranger, or you're an educator. But the fact is, you need to be a bit of everything, and then we need to start talk, and we need to start to talk to the people that teach music at elementary school, because they are going to educate our future audience as well. And if there is nobody caring about music, classical music, because they doesn't listen to it at schools anymore, then we will have no audience for classical music in the future. So we need more time to talk together, and not only talk about what we are. So it's so easy to talk about what we are doing all the time, but we need to talk about how we are going to change things, and talk about things that are coming in the future, and not what has been, I think.
Yeah, that's a good one as well. So I think we've got two more before we have to hop off this call. So who's going to go first? Martin, off you go.
I don't know. This is a really difficult one, and I love what people are saying about inclusion, and I think it's incredibly important. Myself, however much money and time I had, I feel like I personally, I don't think I could do it. It needs somebody younger probably to do that work, and it's really important work. I've got this thing about, it's a little bit unclear in my head, but it's about talking about classical music particularly, about how samey it's got in the way that we perform things. So like, you must play like this to pass your audition, you know, and from the very moment people learn their instrument, it says, no, you can't do it like that. You've got to do it like this, you know, and then you can do a whole post-grad course is all about, this is the only acceptable way of playing. And I just think this is so sad. And then you go to a symphony orchestra concert and people complain because it's not like their CD, you know. You think, well, listen to the CD, you know. And there's something there. I think it's about making an ensemble that it dares to present things in a different way. You know, it could be completely off the wall way. You know, you could be playing Mozart, but everybody's crawling up the walls or something, you know. And I think maybe the sameness and the sort of very small you know, if you know, you're allowed to play within these bounds, and if somebody plays here, people say, oh, that's so daring, you know, think it's not really daring. You could be doing this, you know, or you could be doing this or this, and nobody does it. And I just think we're so small in the way we approach things. I'd love to have a group that explored to the max, you know, what you might do. I mean, like if you're putting on, I don't know, Hamlet or something, they don't mind cutting bits or putting it in a different order or making it in space or anything like that. We're not allowed to do that, and I think it's such a shame. And here's me talking about being a sort of historically informed player. I love all that sort of thing, but that's one way of doing things, and there are other ways of doing things. And, maybe because there's so many restrictions, and they're highly policed restrictions by critics, teachers, conservatoires, lots of people, colleagues. Maybe that's why classical music's considered a bit boring, because essentially it is, because everybody does it exactly the same as everybody else, and if you don't, you're wrong. So I love to have a group that explores the possibilities.
Amazing. Ryan McNulty, you're the last one up, I'm sorry.
It's all right. I needed a little bit of time to think about this one. All right, so come with me on this ride here. Here's what I came up with. We need to hire Michael Bay. We're going to make a blockbuster movie that makes instruments, in this case specifically brass instruments, because it's a little self-serving here, super cool and interesting again for regular people who haven't thought about the trumpet since the 4th grade play test of hey, do you want to play the trumpet in 5th grade, And so we figure out a plot that's not corny, so we got to find a real narrow thing here. It's not corny, and it is explosions are acceptable, hence Michael Bay, and it is fun, because I know the thing that got me into trombone was this. It was called We Sing. It was a children's movie where the trombone player comes out and he goes bow wow wow right at the camera, and after that I was 3-4 years old, and then I just wanted to play this weird slidey thing forever. So what if we could do that for a new generation, a new group of people, and it was a blockbuster? I think The Rock should star in it. That's my pitch.
But what would The Rock play?
Honestly, I think it's tuba, but I'm very open. I'm also interested in him playing the piccolo trumpet. I think that vice versa thing, very cute.
That would look so ridiculous against him. Anyway, sorry, Jose, you've got your hand up.
No, one very last thing. I would have loved to have been the last one, because if I have infinite money, I will finance all of your projects. Because they're all amazing. I think I will be like the bank, and you guys come in and go ahead, approve. I will approve all of that. They're all incredible.
You would be so poor. You would be very poor.
No, the money's infinite. So.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm well cheap.
Mine does require a SpaceX rocket, so just put that in there a little bit.
We did say infinite resources, to be fair, so this is all within that budget. So, folks,
everything.
I've just seen the time, and we should probably wrap this up. Though I am having an absolute blast, I could stay here for the rest of time. However, I've been in this corner for all of time, so we're gonna leave it there. But thank you so much. I appreciate everybody giving their time, not just the one time to come and talk on the podcast, but for a second time. I'm very, very grateful. I will hopefully keep in touch with you when our paths cross. I owe everybody a drink. I will then be very poor, but that's fine by me. So I unceremoniously have to say bye and cut the live by hanging up the call. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I will hopefully speak to you all soon.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Melissa.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Nice seeing
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
Bye, everyone.